Today we're going to be tackling a very itchy and touchy subject for some players out there, the most underrated characters in Genshin. But wait, I know you've seen 9 million videos on this, but most of these characters, in my opinion, are very underrepresented and very kind of trash talked on when it comes to making teams in Genshin, but they're all very powerful, so let's go over why. And while we're on the Inazuma waiting train, make sure you give that algorithm a little bit extra love, make sure you hit that like button, and tell me what your favorite character you're using in Genshin is right now. A lot of the characters we'll be talking about today are very powerful in very specific ways, which is why a lot of people don't really get exposure to these characters. The first one we'll be touching on here is a Beidou. Beidou, most people try her out, they sit there, they try to block, like Beidou sucks, I'm done with Beidou, it's over for Beidou. No, the reason you're playing Beidou is you can go ahead and use her E and do some good damage there, hit for 40, 50, 60, 70k. You really build all around Beidou, but the real reason you're using her is her elemental burst, Storm Breaker. This thing is insane, even if you don't have the constellation for it, because the constellation will make it jump additional times, but this thing will do damage and jump between opponents doing electro damage. And this is going to be even better in 2.0 because she's going to have a very nice new artifact set you can utilize with Beidou. But look at the skill damage. It doesn't seem like a whole bunch, right? That's the activation damage, the lightning damage on the jump, 173%. But remember, this jumps multiple times to multiple targets. And what you utilize Beidou with is you utilize her with another Hydro character, another one which we'll be talking about, but not the one that you think I'm going to be talking about. I mean, really, you think I'm going to be talking about that boy? Underrated. And what you utilize this with is with a Swirl type squad. You can also use her in a Superconduct team with another Cryo character, good with Eula, good with other Cryo DPS that maybe we'll mention in this video as well. Exceptionally strong. You can also throw her in with that Swirl with Electro Charge, and you can see enemies just melt inside different Animo characters, Elemental Burst, like Sucrose, like Ventis, like Kazuha's. Very strong in that sort of team composition and very underrepresented. Most people think Beidou is entirely around her E, sitting there. They don't know how to perform the perfect counter attack. If you can get that, that's awesome. Elemental Burst, doing a bunch of damage to a wide range of enemies, especially if you got at least two. Ping pong, and also gives a damage reduction during her elemental burst. A lot of people also say, man, Beidou is so hard to utilize, you just need to get some energy recharge on her. Go for and aim for 170, 180, 200%. This will be even easier in 2.0, and I'm gonna have a video on that. Why is that a thing? Well, there's gonna be a new set that she's gonna be able to abuse, and she's gonna get even better when Inazuma launches, which makes sense, right? You know, we're riding that pirate boat over to Inazuma. You know, she might find a little bit of pirate treasure for herself there. So if you haven't utilized Beidou, you're trying to find a Superconduct team or that Electrocharge thing, you're trying to find your way up through the abyss with that second team, think about her. She's very strong. Now, the next one here is a little bit of a cheating strategy. It's going to be Rosaria / Kaeya because they overlap in a lot of different ways that you can use them. You can use them as a main DPS in a freestyle team, right? Superconduct, they have Cryo, you add an Electro, reduce that physical resist, boost Rosaria's melee damage, and boost Kaeya's melee damage with their normal and charge attack combos, or you can go the other route and make them your Cryo support characters on top of that for such like a freeze team or a Superconduct team as well. Maybe you're using an Electro main DPS, possibly in the future, who knows? Maybe you're using a main DPS Fischl, getting bonus damage there. Maybe you're a Razor fanatic. And then being Cryo, they can also even sort of support a melt type team for a one-shot hit, one-shot kill, or you can get in there with Bennett. There's a lot of stuff you can do with these characters in their Cryo supporting forms because Kaeya with his Elemental Burst applies Cryo very, very quickly, and Rosaria can do so as well for a long determined amount of time. And if you get her Constellation 2 here, which is going to be Land Without Promise, you're going to disturb your enemies for an extended duration of 4 additional seconds from her Elemental Burst, getting extra free procs of Cryo, so you can get that Cryo in there to melt it off, or Cryo in there to free somebody, or Cryo in there to Superconduct. So these characters are very powerful in Genshin Impact, and you have heard of them, right? But they still, in my opinion, they aren't utilized enough. You don't see enough videos out there. You don't see enough people using these characters. Maybe when they first came out, but then it kind of like people just kind of stopped doing that for whatever reason, even though they are incredibly powerful and are able to tackle even the highest difficulty of Abyss floor. So if you're having trouble out there, you want some more Cryo in your team, a little bit of extra Cryo love, look for these two characters and add them to your roster. Now hold up, this next one, you've had this on your account the entire time you've been playing Genshin Impact, and you probably haven't even thought about using him or her. That's right, it's the Traveler. We just did a whole entire video of how strong this character can be on a budget for a free-to-play player, it's exceptionally powerful. And you don't need to be free-to-play to utilize them. They have a lot of cool stuff in their Geo form specifically. We'll see additional stuff with their Electro form when that is released as well. So they are going to be even better once again in Inazuma. So it's worth leveling them up for this form here. Now, what are you getting out of this form? High damage actually from your elemental skill as well as your elemental burst, which is a very powerful in Genshin. For the full build breakdown, like I said, check out the video up above. You should see a link there. Now, Starfall Sword, Wake of the Earth, the burst, the elemental skill, what do they do there? The skill is just a one-tap 422% mod at level 9. You can take this all the way up to level 13. Remember, you're getting your constellations for free, so you can take this one up to 13 because you have that constellation that adds 3 extra levels. The elemental burst here is very strong, especially in AoE circumstances. Wake of the Earth, large AoE damage, 252% at level 9 per hit, and this hits multiple times, so you can hit things for 25k a couple of times. AoE, put a field down, and when you're inside that field, the whole team is going to have 10% free crit rate. So it's very easy to build this character for incredibly high crit rate, incredibly high crit damage. This one, as you can see here, inside her own field, she's got 97 crit rate, 202 crit damage. So very possible to just throw her in there. Good stuff, very fun, and does a lot of damage. Definitely check out the Travelers, especially if you're having problems in the Abyss on those certain floors where you have to keep the enemies from attacking the center console on your way up there, right? The defend the whole tower scenario that everyone loves to hate. Well, it's a lot easier to defend when you have pillars blocking and the field blocking range shots and melee monsters trying to get in there, and you're going to get a sizable amount of damage and support for the main character, the Traveler, being in your team as well. Now, this last one, who do you think? It's going to be a Hydro character. Guesses down below. Don't cheat, okay? Don't cheat. I know a 5-star character on the under-leveled, underused, underrepresented character video. Why is this? Now, this is because a lot of people don't really like Childe because of his elemental skill, and they don't really have a good place for him. He's a Hydro character that's fast hitting. It's very hard to vaporize off him over and over and over. What are you doing with him? Now, what you're doing with him is abusing Electro Charge and abusing Swirl and abusing all of these different things in Genshin Impact. Usually you use Xingqiu for something like this, but Xingqiu might be in your party with your Pyro DPS, allowing them to go ahead and proc Vaporize over and over and over. That is something Childe really does not have the benefit of doing. He attacks so fast in his melee form that there's no one out there that can apply Pyro fast enough to keep up with him. So eventually what happens is Childe's hydroing them, and then they're just proccing full Pyro, and just they're the ones proccing Vaporize and not Childe, which really kind of hold him back there. But he does do very well in AoE scenarios, and this is where you take advantage of Electro Charge. You make him your Hydro applicator. You put an Animo character like Venti, like good old Sucrose, like Kazuha, and you allow them to go ahead and swirl all of that big old water damage that you're doing. And in conjunction with these two characters, you have an Electro character like Beidou we talked about, or like Fischl, and you're gonna be swirling Electro Charged everywhere. Childe's gonna be in there. If you level up his E, you level him up for big damage. He's gonna be doing his own damage in AoE, and then you're gonna be spamming everyone with Electro Charged everywhere, which got that big buff with Elemental Mastery getting buffed in patch 1.6, and you can just absolutely melt through things with this team composition. You can see the video above. This Childe is only level 70. He didn't have anything on. It was just to see how much damage you can get from strictly using him to abuse Swirl and Electro Charge, and in his own damage, and you're gonna be one cycling a ton of things and a ton of content in Genshin Impact. Now, out of these 4, I guess technically 5 characters, because we have 2 cryo characters in here with Rosaria as well as our boy Kaeya. Which ones did you expect to show up in here? Which ones did you not expect to show up in here? I know Noelle, she's not really underrated anymore. There's not very many underrated characters in Genshin anymore. This wasn't the video to beat, oh, Bennett's still underrated and Sucrose is still underrated and Xingqiu's super underrated. No, that was for like in October is when you made those videos. November. No, this is 2020-21. There's a lot of good characters in here in Genshin, and there's only a couple that really are kind of underrepresented by the community, with people using them and people knowing how to use them in Genshin. So if you have any of these characters, go give them a try, level them up, use these parties that we talked about. A lot of this stuff was Electro Charged, and a lot of these characters got a ton better from 1.6 for that reason. So go out there, have fun with them, and dominate all of your enemies in Genshin Impact. And as always, guys, hit that like button, come back for more, and I'll see you in the next one.